Now, I really haven't paid much attention to Avenged Sevenfold in quite some time, really not since City of Evil, and even then I was kind of starting to lose interest after that album kind of came out. Now, don't get me wrong, I did try to give them a chance with their last couple albums, but there really was nothing there that I felt was captured what they originally brought to the whole genre, and it all felt stale, and it felt like it was commercialized, like they were just trying to write songs to get on the radio or write songs to be played on the music channels. And I kept hoping that they would kind of recapture that feel overall that they had initially when they first came out, and it just nothing really came through. Their last album, Hail to the King, really just was stripped of any sense of ambition overall. They were really competently executed albums, but they felt, again, more commercialized than anything they had really done in the past, and they were never exactly a accessible band. I mean, City of Evil had definitely had some tracks on there. Even Wake of the Falling had some tracks on there that were definitely more accessible overall, but they never really felt like they were pushing into the alt-rock or alt-metal territory like their last couple albums had. Now, thankfully, however it happened, whatever happened, the stage just represents a new era for this band with a new sense of energy and new drive. This album feels like an entirely new band, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it's still Avenged Sevenfold, but it's an Avenged Sevenfold that's willing to kind of push themselves and experiment a bit with their sound, and it just brings brand new life into it, and it's something we really haven't heard in a while, and honestly, probably not since their first album came out that we've heard this sense of just brand new life in this band. I mean, there's songs like Sunny Disposition, which out of nowhere just bring in brass parts into it, and it's a welcome addition. I mean, it sounds great, it works with that song, it works with the tone, it adds to things, and it really just fleshes out that sound on that, and it really shows that they're willing to do things that aren't really exactly conventional overall, and even conventional in the metal scene, and just conventional for them as well. They're kind of pushing things forward for them and for the genre completely. Now, there's never really any fast-paced guitar riffs like we kind of got with Waking the Falling or even City of Evil overall, but there are some really nice parts in there that do kind of pick up the pace a bit, and it's really not so much a loss because the band overall has just pushed themselves forward generally and just opening up their sound overall. I mean, the slower songs don't really sound ballady. I mean, there's a couple on there, but overall that's something that I really do not like when bands do, when they try to just force a slow song. I mean, these songs really kind of have a sense of like I said, this sludginess to them. I really like that here. I mean, you still get some pretty fast-paced moments, like the opening of Goddamn, which is just this out of nowhere crazy guitar part, and kind of halfway through the song Simulation, you get another really kind of fast-paced change of things, and that's something that I really like. The vocal work on here has certainly been improved overall. I mean, he's always had an interesting voice in general, but here there's just such a sense of control over it that he just goes in directions that I wouldn't expect, and it works so well throughout this entire album. Now, these tracks kind of clock in at a pretty hefty length, usually between 4 to 6 minutes long, and for a lot of bands, that's a detriment to them. They really kind of have songs that wear out their welcome pretty quickly, but not here on the stage. I mean, what they've done here is they've taken these songs and just stretched them out over that time, and usually about the 3-minute mark is where I personally start to look for skipping over a song, getting to the next one, because I'm kind of tired of hearing the same thing over again. But not here, because it isn't the same thing over again. The beginning is not the middle, is not the end. There's so many parts where they just kind of change things up completely, where it sounds like you're listening to a totally different song. And I really enjoy that they did that overall on here, because again, when you have songs that are pushing the 6, almost 7-minute mark, you really run the risk of just kind of boring your audience and, you know, again, looking for something. They're going to be looking to try to just go on to the next song and hear something new. and different. But just overall, Not Here, you really do need to listen to these songs all the way through, because there are just so many parts and elements here that would really just otherwise be missed. Now, of course, not every song on here really lands. The song Creating God, for instance, starts off pretty well, but it kind of breaks off into this post-grungy verse and then this really made-for-radio chorus. It actually kind of reminds me of the early to mid-90s style of grunge with bands like Alice in Chains or Stone Temple Pilots even. And it just doesn't do it for me. It's not something that I like. It sounds like it's more made for just rock stations. It sounds like that, and it just, it might be your song, but that song really didn't land well for me. It's not a bad song. It's just boring, like I said, kind of commercialized, and just not something that I'm looking for. And some of these songs do kind of overstay their welcome a bit. I mean, it's going to happen when you have songs that are, again, 6-7 minutes long here, but it's really all I can say overall for negative things to the negative here. I mean, and it doesn't really do anything that's so egregious that it makes me want to delete the song entirely. Even Creating God doesn't really make me want to turn it off. I still listen to that when I listen to it through. It's just not as successful as the other songs on this album here. If you've kind of glossed over these guys as I have, it's time to jump back in. I mean, whatever it was that they've been missing the last couple of years, the last couple albums is just back. That sense of style and passion is right there in this album, The Stage. And it really was a surprise release. I mean, they released a music video a few weeks back for the title track, The Stage, which is a fantastic track on this album, by the way, to open it up. It really gives you a sense of where this album is going. But then they just dropped the album kind of out of nowhere. And it's completely newly reinvigorated band that's just willing to break from what is expected of them and what Avenged Sevenfold really sounds like, or what you expect from an Avenged Sevenfold album. And it's a great album, period. I mean, it's not just a great Avenged Sevenfold album, it's a great metal album. And honestly, I would say it's probably one of the best albums that they've ever put out to date. I mean, this album is absolutely just feels fresh. It feels unique. It feels like this band is really just trying to push themselves and get somewhere. And it shows why they really broke out of the scene in the first place and why they were so successful with their first two releases. It doesn't sound like those releases, don't get me wrong, but it just has that sense of energy and style that was there that made us fall in love with the band. So if you've kind of been skipping them, this is the perfect opportunity to reintroduce yourselves to Avenged Sevenfold. Now, this album isn't going to win over fans who, aren't really into that style of metal, but it's probably also at the same time, and I would say that because it's one of the least accessible albums overall, but in trading that accessibility that they had maybe in the last couple albums, they've just found a brand new sense of purpose.